It may only be early August, but lots to talk about in terms of flu shots. Joining us now, Upstate Global Health Director, Dr. Stephen Thomas. Thanks for being with us, sir. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
So the FDA has just approved a new flu vaccine for anyone 50 plus. It is from Moderna and it uses mRNA platform. What do the trials show about the effectiveness of this new shot?
Yes, so after a regulatory roller coaster, Moderna did get approval for their vaccine for people 50 years of age and older. It is based on two different types of data. One is clinical data, where they compared their vaccine to existing standard dose vaccines, and it demonstrated that it actually improved the effectiveness, so the ability to prevent clinical influenza by about 25%, which is good. So not only did it perform as good, it performed better. And then the other piece of information that they used was they did some comparisons of immune responses between people who got the Moderna vaccine and older adults, so people over 64, who had received vaccines that are designed for them, high-dose vaccines. And the Moderna vaccine was as good, and in some cases better when you looked at the immune responses. So this is good. This is a new tool in the fight against influenza.
We know kind of what got kicked up by mRNA back in COVID times. I'm sure this could trigger it again. So the effectiveness of it in those trials, how much does that have to do with the actual mRNA technology, that method of that they're using in this flu vaccine, or is it really not totally related to it being mRNA?
Yeah, so that's actually, I mean, that's a very good question, and that's a scientific question that people are trying to unpack and to understand. You know, we can measure lots of things, but what ends up going to the FDA is usually one or two very specific things, antibody levels, for example. But there are other types of immune responses that we have to vaccines that we don't routinely bring to the FDA, and because it's very difficult to measure. But Moderna has measured some of these other aspects of the immune response, and the mRNA technology, we believe, is what allows for some of these expanded immune responses that may or may not be helpful. We don't really know yet. What we do know about the platform, and again, you and I have talked before. This type of technology has been around since the 1960s. This is not new technology. What we do know, though, is that it allows us to pivot very quickly, depending upon what the pathogen is or what the bug that we're concerned about is. And with flu, which we have to update the vaccines every year, this is really important, and this is really an advantage, because you can go from identifying a new virus strain to having a vaccine ready in a very short period of time, which is really not the case with some of the more classic platforms we have.
Any idea how soon that might be on the market, this new Moderna shot?
They said for the 26-27 season,
okay.
which is a couple of months away.
Yeah, I see the more traditional flu shots are actually already out there. Why would you want to get one right now and maybe not wait till more like September, October time?
Yeah, so I like to kind of take into account how long you get the maximum effect from these vaccines, which is about 4 to 6 months. I like to look at where we live, when do we sort of experience peak activity, which is usually end of December, January, February. And I try to recommend to people that if they can, they time getting vaccinated, so that when there's maximal risk, there's maximal benefit from vaccination. So I'm usually advising people, if they wait until the October time frame. I think it is good news that they are available now, because you remember last year there was some concerns about when they would be available, and supply chain and things of that nature. So I think it's good news. But again, sort of, if you just take sort of the middle of the road people, I typically would recommend that they wait till, September, late September, October to maximize the benefit.
Quick pivot for you here. Ticks. We talked about how bad a year this was going to be. They seem to be carrying more than just Lyme these days. Maybe that's certainly not news to you, but how concerning should it be to us, or is bad, whatever they're carrying?
Yeah, actually, so you are right. This year, I was just talking to Dr. Tangamani this morning, who's, we're very lucky to have him and his people at Upstate. He's a tick expert. And in fact, the 26 season is a lot worse than the 25 season. And that's just not in his lab. That's in other labs around the state are reporting the same thing. You're also correct that these ticks are not just transmitting Lyme disease, which, by the way, when we survey the ticks in Onondaga County, about 33% of them, so 1 of every 3 ticks is infected with the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. But they cause other things. They cause something called anaplasmosis. About 1 in 10 ticks is infected with the bacteria that causes anaplasmosis. And they also cause something called babesiosis. It's known as like the malaria of the West.
Great.
And about 1 in 10 ticks in Onondaga County are infected with the parasite that causes babesiosis. And these can be fatal diseases. Anaplasma and babesia can be fatal diseases. And we've had people in upstate New York who have died from these diseases. So my advice is, if you encounter a tick or you get sick during the summer months when these diseases can be transmitted, or you get some kind of funky rash that you're not sure where it came from, you reach out to a medical professional and you ask their advice, and you ask them if this could be a tick-borne disease. And again, we're lucky at Upstate. We have a number of people with a lot of experience in tick-borne illnesses.
Always great catching up with you. We appreciate your time and your expertise. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.